Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, college basketball fans, presidency of major university fans. This is the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall and also featuring Jeff Snook.
You bet.
As I like to say to folks across the nation and around the world. And wow, man, we get up here on Monday morning in Columbus this morning. Jeff, you're way down there in Atlantis, Florida, the lost city of Atlantis, Florida. And we find out the news that Ted Carter is out. Before we talk about anything else Ohio State related, we'll start at the top. The top being Ted Carter, the short-lived president of Ohio State University. I think he's been in office less than 2 years, hasn't he?
Yeah,
somewhere in
January
there.
24.
Yeah,
right?
he hired Ross Bjork. So yeah, about less than 2 years or 2 years, he's out because of, as the quote said, an inappropriate relationship with someone seeking public money for a private business. I'm just paraphrasing that in my head is the way I read it. It still kind of doesn't make sense. But Jeff, you're a proud alum of the Ohio State University. You even broke the story once about one of the people who was hired as the president, because you're quite prolific on Facebook and you have quite the following, fans, critics. They all follow you nonetheless. What's your immediate reaction to Ted Carter being ousted as the president of Ohio State? And by the way, to set the table, he I guess self-reported this inappropriate relationship maybe before it became unself-reported, but he reported it to the OSU Board of Trustees and offered to resign, and they accepted his offer. So this Board of Trustees, which has been through the ringer in the last many years. But your immediate reaction, Jeff, to hearing this news today?
Well, it's stunning, very stunning. You know, Ted had a sterling reputation coming from the University of Nebraska. I think everybody out there loved him, and everybody thought he was a home run hire when they hired him. I think he started January 24. He's been on the job 2 years and 2 months. But, you know, that dreaded inappropriate relationship is like the player to be named later in baseball. It is something that's it's a common phrase anymore. And look at the list of people it's taken down. I mean, Michigan lost a president recently that same thing. So it'll get you every time. And you got to have, you know, in leadership and fundraising, you got to have integrity in this job and morality. And, you know, too many people in high positions, CEOs or presidents, have been taken down by the inappropriate relationship. I'm sad to see that happen. That being said, the Board of Trustees got to probably still have that fresh stack of resumes from 2 years ago, but they don't need to look through it. All they need to do is make one call to the cell phone of a man in Berea, Ohio by the name of Jim Tressel.
I told you.
Nobody knows this university more. Nobody loves this university more. And he's got experience at it. So, you know, he's got great administrative experience. And if they go to anybody else right now but him, because it would be ridiculous. Jim could give him stability, leadership, fundraising. He knows how to administer and pull this campus together. This is a large university. This is a major job. Nobody is more fitted for this job than Jim Tressel. And I always hear this, he doesn't have a doctorate degree. That is such BS. Look at the people that have doctorate degrees that completely fumble this job or do what Ted Carter allegedly did. The doctorate degree means nothing. He's got a master's. He's got life experience. He loves Ohio State. Just make the call and get it done. Have him there next week. That's what they should be doing. Go ahead, Tim, but that needs to be a groundswell right now.
I told you he was going to steal my point. I mean,
no, Tressel,
I brought it up to him in a pre-show thing, and he steals my.
Oh, was that your original thought?
That was my original thought, and you know it. But you made a good. But I let you go with it with a few under the breath addendums as you were speaking. But no, I agree 100%. He's lieutenant governor, but he's outgoing lieutenant governor. He opted not to make a run for the governorship. Is that what you call it? The governorship?
Yeah.
And
he rallies the troops.
Yeah. And if you ever need to rally the troops, I mean, even if it's interim president, I mean, he's a year and a half older than me. I'm going to be 72 middle of this month. Jeff, by the way, Jeff, you're going to be 70, what, 7 middle of this month?
Next week. What is today? What's today?
Today's the 9th.
Next week I'll be 6. I'll be Route 66. You ever been on Route 66?
There you go.
He's a spring chicken compared to you and
compared to me. Yeah, but the point is, Jim Tressel is still a spry, young man. I mean, youngish man, and like Jeff says, who cares if he? Yeah. Who cares about a doctorate in a situation like this? Because Jim Tressel is the obvious choice. I don't mean to go ahead and jump on who should be the next guy, but he should at least be considered the interim guy for an extended period.
Well, make him the interim, then he can work on the damn doctorate or whatever it needs to be.
Or just get a doctorate emeritus, you know?
Jeff, to me, it's stunning the trajectory this man was on. Top Gun pilot, later superintendent, basically the president of the Naval Academy, Nebraska president. He ascends to what many think is, one of the thrones in academia and athletics, no question about it, at Ohio State. And as many have said, not since Gee has somebody been so front-facing, forward-facing, right there in every major area. And it's a blow, man. And I think that's why Tressel is so essential right now.
Well, you're mentioning public visibility, and Dr. Carter was very, very visible, like Gordon Gee was when he was president. And you need somebody at this university, when they're president, you don't want them retreating to their office. They need to be that way. And his personality, dictated that because it's a large part of this job's fundraising. Let's face it. And apparently maybe that's why we got into trouble. We didn't know the details, but I don't feel sorry for jumping ahead to the next hire, and I'll tell you why. He's been on the job for a cup of coffee, 26 months. If he had a 20-year tenure, we could spend more time on him. But the fact he came and went in 26 months, let's just move on and get it done and cover up this stink with the guy that should be in this job, is made for this job. And everybody loves the guy. There ain't anybody that doesn't like Jim Tressel. Let's do the right thing and get it done. And the board of trustees, I don't know if I still have some of their numbers or not, but I mean, they ought to be bombarded with texts to do it. I hope they do this and not go another direction, because they continue to, let's face it, when you do this, you make this guy a high profile hire like they did 26 months ago, you better get it right. And they didn't get it right. Now, there might be nothing in his background that's going to tell you that he's going to do this. But this goes to integrity, morality, everything else. And you do your background check. He came highly recommended. I'm not blaming them here, but I'm saying they know the next hire, if it's Jim Tressel, they don't have to worry about that. He checks all the boxes. He's a home run hire. And you don't have to worry about Jim getting in a scandal. And let's not talk about what happened in 2011, because when you look back on that, a lot of that is unjust compared to what's happening in today's NIL market, transfer portal, and everything else. But it's just the perfect man for the job. And he knows Ohio State. You bring a guy in from Nebraska, he doesn't know this campus, this university, this structure, the 7 campuses. And it's a tough job. It's like a president's job, like a POTUS or, something bigger than this. It's a major, major task to run this university. And they're well compensated for it, as they should be, because it encompasses so much.
I texted him while you were talking there, while you were off on yet another soliloquy. I texted him Jim Tressel, that my vote was for him.
Well, I'm sure that you're the only text that's sent to him today.
He's he's been on this show several times, the Tim May show several times. Number one, number two, you and I both know him extremely well. I wouldn't care if he just had a Bachelor of Arts degree, in football coaching. He's clearly shown that he can lead a university with a plum, APLOMB, at Youngstown State. Got their fundraising back up and going in in a big time way. And he's been the lieutenant governor here for a couple of years, and just still has energy out the wazoo. I'm just, to me, it's a no brainer, at least in an interim situation. It's a no brainer who you turn to in this situation. Let me ask you this too, though, Jeff. Being the president of a major university now, like Ohio State, just from the microcosm of sports, athletics, this is a big moment in time. I think you agree with that, right? I mean,
well, absolutely.
There's got to be leadership coming from the president's office at Ohio State in terms of what's next for college athletics. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who knows that athletic department more than Jim Tressel? He's qualified to be their AD, let alone president, so he could do either job if if they would name him.
Correct.
Now they got an AD in place. I don't know how well he knows Ross Bjork. It doesn't matter.
He likes Ross.
Bjork.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he'd become his boss. But Ryan Day and Jim Tressel have a good relationship, and Jim knows the campus. I mean, when Jim was head coach, he was the chief fundraiser for the James Center,
right,
Cancer Research Hospital, and helped me out. Matter of fact, with my sister's issue when she got diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2005, and he really he touches everyone on that campus. He's very popular. Jim has integrity. Jim has great leadership skills, great teaching skills, great fundraising skills. He's an enthusiastic guy. I mean, he does, players love him. He's beloved at Ohio State, and they need to bring him home. They need to bring him home immediately. Just get this done when the dust settles and make the call today. And, the board of trustees, this not only is it the safe hire, it's the right hire. That's the most important thing. So I hope they do it, and I hope they don't open this up to one of those drawn out nationwide searches, et cetera, that goes from coast to coast, takes $2 million in a month to do it. I mean, there's no sense in that.
Nope.
I advocated for Jim 2 years ago when they hired Ted Carter.
Yep.
So
I did too.
Anyway, I hope common sense prevails. But when you're talking about a major university with all the layers of administration, and that doesn't always happen. I mean, we've dealt with the board of trustees before, and we remember some of the things they did or didn't do.
Yeah. And by the way, I appreciate you once again, you going off from a soliloquy standpoint. Your soliloquies are excellent.
You're overusing that S word.
But by the way, crisps. I can't say the word crisps. I bought my wife some cinnamon crisps the other day at Taco Bell. She likes those. So that's another S word I can't say, crisps. No, what I was leading to is about the big meeting in Washington on Friday, trying to this. I don't even know what that was. It was just a gathering of people. Round table, a big, huge round table of people trying to steer the president toward an executive order, or help him make an executive order, or give him some thoughts on an executive order. But who better qualified for something like that than a Jim Tressel? My point being, when I said a while ago about this being a major moment in terms of athletics in college athletics, I'm talking about the national situation that's going on and stuff. Let's just talk. We were going to talk about that last, but let's talk about that first. What, if anything, I know you watched or heard a little bit about what went on in Washington, but what drew your interest the most? What bothered me was what the president of the United States supposedly said about kind of basically going back to yesteryear and 15, 20,000. I mean, just I didn't see him to be as in touch as he needs to be in terms of possibly putting out an executive order to right the ship when it comes to major college athletics. I was not impressed by what he said, but that doesn't mean that's what he's going to do. But this idea that you're going to take it all the way back, way back to what it used to be 6-7 years ago is not going to happen, because legally it can't happen. But go ahead.
Well, just the other day, I had this big tube of Colgate sitting there, and I leaned on it with my elbow, and it came squirting across the counter.
I believe that. I believe this anecdote.
You ever try to put toothpaste back in a tube? Well, that's what he's trying to do now. So,
right.
the executive order, boy, I don't know how that would work with existing NIL contracts. You could shut down that portal right now and put some parameters on it, do it. But these existing NIL contracts, I don't know. There are going to be lawsuits out the wazoo.
Oh, yeah.
This.
Oh, you used my word, wazoo. I used wazoo
like
earlier.
Well, I always paid attention to Washington State football. So,
me too.
But anyway,
my pet son was there.
Leach, baby.
I just don't know how that would work, when it would take effect, how it affects the 2026 season. It's the right thing to do if you could get it done, but I don't know how you get that done now it's happened. Well, I wrote for years, and I don't know.
Wait a minute. Whoa. What is the right thing to do? What is the right thing to do?
I'm saying if you want to get back to the system that worked, and what they did is, for years, I wrote that college kids should not be paid stipends or any money on the extra. And the reason was the inequities from sport to sport, position to position, et cetera, et cetera. So when you considered a full scholarship, athletic scholarship, which a lot of fans don't realize,
right,
includes room, books, tuition, housing, tutoring, and a full, basically smorgasbord, a training table. And if they did things right as a student athlete, and just went to class and used that infrastructure to get a college degree, they're set up for life. And in doing so, the transfer portal didn't exist. But so it went hand in hand with getting a college education. That's been lost. This NIL and transfer portal has been a major, what should I say, a bullet in the eyes of getting a college education for these student athletes. These kids are transferring 3 to 5 times. Some of them. I did a Facebook post yesterday, an example of a running back who's actually on his 6th team in 5 years. It's just, I know that's not the norm, but there's several examples of this. There's 4,000 kids in transfer portal this year. That's
correct.
Absolutely ridiculous. We're getting 5-star recruits to go places, and the college put all this time and energy into recruiting them. And after 1 year, they're leaving for somewhere else because they didn't win the job. And they're not learning to stay their fight. They're not getting developed. They're not going to class. They're not moving forward towards a college degree. So this is still college athletics. It should be amateur college athletics. But a lot of people wrote that for years, and they gave in to a lot of the do-gooders that thought, and they didn't have a stake in the game, but they thought college athletes were being taken advantage of. No, they weren't. If they did not agree to the terms of those, and in the NBA, you only had to do it, 1 year in college basketball, and then you could go. But NFL's not that way. It's 3 years. They did reduce it by a year, remember? But
right.
if you don't like that system, there's plenty of things you can do. You could earn a trade, be a plumber, be an electrician. But the system of the NCAA, now the NCAA, that's a whole other matter of being toothless. It worked for generations. It really did. And I've written a number of history books on college football. And the number of people I talked to that played college football when they got in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that look back on that time as the greatest 4 years of their life and were thankful for that free college education, it's in the thousands. And none of them complained about not being paid during those 4 years. That's a temporary compensation versus a lifelong compensation that pays you back every day of your life if you do things right and get that degree. And so once this happened, they didn't have the foresight to see that this pay for play would develop, and the NIL wasn't NIL at all. It was the money was put into recruiting and transfer portal. All these things got combined as a perfect storm, and it's a mess. It's a complete mess. If you could revert back the way it was with maybe some minor compensation that is capped, and I think maybe that's what they're going to do, but these collectives are going to go away. And the transfer portal is going to be limited. Now, I still don't agree with sitting out a year, but I would put caps on how many times you could transfer. But, back to the executive order. Who knows if that's going to work? It's going to be lawsuits coming out of that. Federal courts.
All right. You've had long enough. Woody Hayes made, I think, his last year as a head coach, $48,000 a year. Ryan Day's going to make $13 million. And I could go on and on and on about athletic directors, what they're making, et cetera. Back in the good old days, nobody made much on college athletics, period. The problem with your argument is how much money is being generated. The reason we're at this point is all this money started coming into college athletics, but it all went to places, to things and people other than the athletes who are actually going out on the field or on the court and putting their life and limbs in jeopardy for the good of the game, et cetera. You just had freaking 8 minutes there. The point is,
so you're saying
they didn't keep up.
Free college education is not worth much.
I could turn his volume down if I wanted to.
What's a free college education?
Didn't say that. You were, dude. You don't let anybody. You never let anybody finish. They were already getting that before the explosion of cash. They were already getting what you're talking about before the explosion of money into college athletics. I think you're smart enough to know that, number one. Number two, they should share. They should have been sharing as the amount of money coming into college athletics started rising, and on an exponential scale almost in the 80s and 90s. They should have been starting to share some of that because they were the reasons that people were tuning into the TV sets and going to the stadiums and spending money to watch college athletics. It wasn't because of the coaches. And then on top of that, the coaches were out aggressively recruiting these players to come play for them. It wasn't just a all volunteer army. I mean, it was a situation where they were trying to get the best and the best and the brightest to come and play for them to enhance the competitiveness of their teams, and also thus enhance the attractiveness of their product, where more people would pay more money, TV, radio, fans, to see the sport. So they should have been sharing in the profits in some form or fashion all along, but instead, your beloved NCAA, which is Ohio State, it is Alabama, it is Southern Cal, et cetera, kept kicking that can down the road. No, we got to stay amateurs. We got to stay as amateur as much as possible. Of course, we were going to see when all of this finally, somebody took a cap off and somebody declared, including the Supreme Court, finally, that this is not fair, that this is not equal of what these people should be getting. Of course, it was going to explode on us like it has for the last several years.
You made
now,
your point.
past that, no, let me finish. Past that,
you're going on
no, I'm not going to let you retort that until I finish. Now, everything always explodes. Now you got to put some of the toothpaste back in the tube, but the lion's share, most of the toothpaste is going to stay out of the tube. If an executive order comes out saying that football players can get no more than $10,000 or $15,000 a year, no matter who you are, that's going to be challenged immediately in court. It's going to be flipped because there are already precedent cases giving athletes the rights to more remuneration, et cetera. So that's, this go back to the Stone Age thing is ridiculous. I want to get Clay's take before we go back to you, Senator.
No, it's good to listen to somebody else. Go ahead, Clay.
No.
Clay, how long did he get a while ago? 8 minutes. I watched it on the clock.
No. It is sad. Jeff mentioned this, that, or maybe he did, just some of the kids don't see. It's
hard to remember everything he mentioned, but go ahead.
They don't see the value in the education. They don't see the value in a degree from the Ohio State University.
But they were getting that before, is my point. That is moot. Yeah, they were getting all of that before with full ride scholarship.
Right where he makes that point.
It has nothing to do. You never know what an 18, 19-year-old is thinking.
What you're failing to mention is one thing. You said they were getting that before. When they're getting that before, when I went to college for 4 years, it amounted to $12,000, room, books, tuition, everything. $12,000. What is it today? It's over 6 figures. So
Right.
it's escalated with the economy. So you're saying the college education is the same as it was before? No, it costs 20
Wait,
times.
six
what it used
figures.
to
You
cost.
were no, not 6 figures for
4 years?
for a year.
Absolutely.
For
4 years?
Yeah, but they weren't getting. Don't go there. My point is that has stayed.
I
The
just
full
refuted
ride
your
scholarship
argument. You say don't
was
go there.
was around
My
before.
My 4 years cost $12,000. Today, 4 years cost over 6 figures. Don't dispute that.
I'm
That's
not
accurate.
disputing that.
Yeah,
You
I
just
paid
did.
for
I'm
it.
not
You
disputing
just
that.
did.
I paid
That's-
for it. That's
It's
right.
like
I paid for it.
$40,000 a year. to go to
Gasoline was
hospital.
$3.50 at the pump this morning. You want to go down that route?
You just-
No.
Somebody has a point that just shot down your little argument.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't shoot it down at all. It doesn't shoot it down at all.
You
The
said it
amount
was
of
the
money,
same. You
the
said it
amount
was
of
the
money,
same.
the
Not the
amount of
same
money being
value.
generated by
Nothing
college
is the
athletics,
same value.
by major college football right now is stunning. How much money's
And
involved?
first of all,
And
when they revert back, they're not going all the way back. There will be.
And like I said, Woody
revenue
Hayes
sharing
made $48,000 a year.
now. It would just.
Ryan Day's
that
making
have to do-
$13 million. That
Yeah,
doesn't
well, I mean,
do that
where's
math.
that, Tim? Where's that come from? That comes from the TV contract.
What am I
You know
saying?
that.
Yeah.
That's
What
not,
am I
that's
saying?
He
not
has
the
said that.
ticket sale.
He-
I don't know.
this
I
is
didn't hear
what-
TV. I didn't hear TV.
I'm between both
What do you
of
mean?
you.
That was the whole
I
the
think
whole crux of it was TV money coming into
I didn't hear
play.
you say the word.
put the money
Well,
in
it's 'cause you don't
escrow
listen.
and give it to them when they leave. That's
Well-
what I believe in.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a story about that 30 years ago, advocating that about
But wait a minute. When
about
do
going
they-
into an annuity, and
Yeah,
when you
when do they
leave,
need it?
you stay
When do
3
they
years,
need it?
you get so
When do
much.
they
If you
need
stay
it most?
5, you get so much.
Ask the question, when do they need it most? They probably need it most during these 4 years because they always said, well, you can't hold a job. There's no time to hold a job. You always heard that argument. So they have no spending money to buy a pizza. I always heard that for years. That's BS. The point being, you got first round picks like Jeremiah Smith's going to be making $38 million. So in his first 3 years. So what
What
does
if he
it
gets
matter?
hurt playing for Ohio State and never plays another down?
What does it matter if you give him an extra 30 grand when he, down when he leaves? That's pizza money for him. But no, I mean, these kids are well taken care of in college, but it's a choice. This country is a choice. You do not have to be a Division I scholarship athlete if you do not want to be. You know what I mean? You have a talent, a skill. If you parlay that into getting a free college education that will pay you back every day for the rest of your life, that value is immense. It is great. And I've experienced this firsthand by, like I said, interviewing and talking to literally hundreds of thousands of former college football players, and the opportunity they got changed their lives. They were going to be farmers or whatever you want to say. They were going to be, and they got a college education that their parents could never afford otherwise. That still applies to today. The value of a college education, like I said, I mean, it was $8,000-$10,000 for 4 years back in the 70s. But today, that's well worth way more than that. But I think there will be revenue sharing. They're not going all the way back. They can't.
It's worth more than it used to be because of all kinds of factors, but it's nowhere near. It's nowhere near what college football and basketball have brought in since then. That's why courts have ruled in athletes' favor in all of these test cases, all of these cases that have opened up the fan. No, it's just like pay the players what they're worth. Now there's a big difference. Let me talk for a second. There's a big difference, like you're talking about, in what Urban Meyer brought to the table the other day in that round table. There's a big difference between revenue sharing, which is what the schools are now doing or been allowed to do, which the Ohio State football team is sharing. Yes, 20.5. It's going to 21.5, I think, this year in terms of for the athletic department. They're sharing it with 4 different sports, but the lion's share, without a doubt, is going to football. There's a big difference between the revenue sharing aspect of things, which is coming from the university, money generated by the university, athletic departments, and NIL. And the point that was never intended to be, which is what Urban Meyer brought up the other day, was NIL was supposed to be, you could go out on your own and do car commercials or pizza commercials or whatever. And of course it immediately got exacerbated and it immediately got bastardized into
Pay for
collectives and pay for play. That does need to be reined in some form or fashion.
And
now, let me finish.
all right.
When all these universities signed on to the CSC, the College Sports Commission, that they would adhere to rules in terms of, for example, the NIL Go, which is supposed to, any NIL deal, $600 or more is supposed to get approval or be vetted and get approval from NIL Go. Most of the universities are just winking at that. They're not, they all signed off on it, and now they're all winking at it. So what they want, what they're pleading is federal government and Donald Trump, save us from ourselves. That's what's going on here, is they need it to be against the law as opposed to against a rule for certain things to happen. Revenue sharing is not going away. Who knows? And revenue sharing is like a salary cap in the NFL. You can pay Jeremiah Smith six figures, and you can pay a backup left guard $1,000. You can, whatever you decide to do, you can do that way. The NIL thing is the thing that's really out of control, plus the transfer portal. But the transfer portal is a rule that the NCAA agreed upon, themselves. That's why it came to, guys have been transferring forever, ever since I've been covering major college sports, but not to this stage.
Now there's no penalty.
Right.
There's no penalty.
Without the sit out. Yeah.
Let me make one point that applies here, though, that nobody ever brings up. If you ask the average person, how many intercollegiate sports does Ohio State have? They can't answer that. Well, the number's 36. That's men and women. 36. They lead the country. That's
voluntarily on Ohio State's part to have that many sports.
Who's interrupting me now? Come on.
Because I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
so every university has anywhere between 18 and 36 men's and women's sports.
Right.
So if you took away basketball and football, the other 18 to 20 wouldn't exist. You wouldn't have them. And you ask where the money goes. Football and basketball pays for women's lacrosse, women's field hockey, women's volleyball, all these individuals, these student athletes, otherwise wouldn't get a free education. That number is in the hundreds of thousands. So this is spread out to pay for that athletic department that's doing it. Some of them are, athletic departments like Florida State, I read, is $420 million in debt. But so they're not managing the money as well because of what's happened with Rutgers. This and everything else that is happened. But Ohio State balances their budget, makes money. At the same time, they have more intercollegiate sports, more student athletes than any other university in the country getting a free education. So when you go interview some of those girls or in minor sports, wrestling, whatever, and talk to them about how appreciative they are of getting a free education.
My wife had a full ride scholarship in the late 1970s at Ohio State as a track person.
And that's paid for by the football and basketball program, just so you know. That money gets spread out. And so the opportunities
it's not that simple,
endless.
But go ahead.
The opportunity, it pretty much is. The opportunities are endless for student athletes and the number of people, lives it affects. Now, when you talk about TV contracts and coaches' salaries, you're absolutely correct. That has gotten out of control. And that's what these commissioners, that's what they do, is negotiate the highest contract with any TV network they can find, as we saw with Kevin Warren, and now we got Peacock and Fox Sports 1 and you name it. And they're just raising not millions, but billions of dollars because the thirst to watch college football, mainly college basketball secondary, the thirst is bigger and better than ever, just like the NFL. So that money filters down, and now it's an arms race with the top 5 to 10 coaches. I remember 1991, I believe it was 91 or 92, might have been 92. The first 3 coaches to cross over $1 million a year, and they did it simultaneously. Lou Holtz, Bobby Bowden, and Steve Spurrier all crossed over $1 million a year because their ADs wanted to be competitive. And I think about that in today's terms, with these guys making Ryan Day and Dabo and Kirby Smart, and now Kurt Signetti making $12 to $13 million a year. And I think about the day I'm there when Nick Saban gets fired as secondary coach. He's 31 years old, making $22,000 a year in 1981. And then now his net worth has got to be probably $100 million. It's absurd. It's incredible. And then the buyouts, they got to do something about the buyouts when you get Jimbo Fisher making $75 million a year. I think the current Ohio State athletic director, correct me if I'm wrong, finalized that deal. But that the buyouts are ridiculous. You don't have presidents getting those buyouts of universities like what's going to happen with Ted Carter, and you shouldn't have it. And you shouldn't have it with football coaches.
Here's the thing. Let me interrupt you because you're going on and on. The thing about it is those were all voluntarily done by the universities in the old rat race, keeping up with the Joneses, et cetera. That's why salary started escalating to get Coach A. We've got to do this. Well, why don't you just hire Coach B where you don't have to do this, meaning from an escalation of salaries, which got out of control. But that money's not coming off a tree. It's coming in. It's called income. And it has all been generated for the most part by television contracts. And all schools don't budget the same way. All schools don't handle their budgets the same way.
Right.
So when people get in trouble, it's usually of their own making. Much like Ted Carter got in trouble, much because of his own making. The whole thing is the reason we got to this point is things got out of control in that regard. People who are basically the athletes who are generating the lion's share of the income were left way, way, way behind in the equation because the amateur definition was there just for the benefit of the NCAA. I mean, the Olympics left the amateur definition of things way behind a long time ago. They even pay you when you win Olympic medals and stuff now. They have been for years. The bottom line is the athletes should have been sharing in as things went along. How much of a share? Who knows? But they should have been sharing in the excess profits that were coming in. Ohio State had 36 sports in the 1970s, just like it does now. So this idea that they've added all these sports to all the extra money and all the money that, most of these sports are operating not on shoestring budgets, but pretty close now. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, they have 20, 21 sports. They're making roughly, not quite, but roughly, they're in the same ballpark of making money as Ohio State is. Ohio State has, I think, had more revenue than anybody a year ago and stuff. So, but my point is, they're all these athletic programs, departments aren't created equal either. They're not sharing the money like remember, Big East.
The college head coaches' contracts are tied to one thing, what the NFL doesn't have to deal with, and they need to fix this. They're tied to recruiting. So the reason you have big buyouts and 8-year contracts and 6-year contracts is because of recruiting. So
I know everybody knows that. Everybody knows all this.
Not everybody knows that.
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying it.
But the NFL know this.
The NFL doesn't. I don't know why you said that because not everybody knows that. So that's the difference between the NFL and college football. In the NFL, you get fired. You get paid off your last year or two of the contract, and you don't have these huge buyouts or these big $75 million paydays.
Correct.
So the Congress or NCAA somehow has to get together and fix this. Everybody should be on no more than a 3 to 4 year contract based on merit and performance. So if you put together 2 losing seasons, you get fired and you walk away with your salary, basically. And that needs to be
okay. Good luck with that. Because that's
good luck with that.
Those are all individual universities make those decisions to give these guys these kind of contracts. Nobody's holding a gun to their head except for the coach who's either coming in or wants to be extended.
It's the competitive system nationwide of recruiting that drives that. That needs to be fixed. And
right. But you can't say that I'm University A. I'm paying my coach this much. You can't come out and say, okay, well, University B, you can only pay your coach that much, and you can only guarantee so much of his contract. Well, they're all individual businesses.
They can't limit the compensation. They can limit the length of the contract.
Bingo. And what's crazy is,
but it's still voluntary.
Say what you will about the state.
It's not the NFL.
The state of Mississippi, they do not allow their coach to be on a contract longer than 4 years. That's it.
But that's Mississippi.
Right. But
that's why we're in this mess, is all these states have come up with different ways, different rules of dealing with that, dealing with NIL, dealing with everything that's come about here has been driven by individual states saying we're going to do this. and let our universities do this in the athletic department realm of NIL, et cetera. Anybody paying attention sees that. What the NCAA wants now, the members want, is they want a streamlined federal set of rules
that
everybody must adhere to. And the thing about it is, the only thing I would agree to here is if you do and you go and lure somebody from another university, which we've seen going on right now from a standpoint of a guarantee, I'm going to give you this much of an NIL deal if you leave that university and come to ours, as Dabo Sweeney pointed out just the other day, a great example. If it now becomes a law that you can't do that, the penalty won't be a fine or it would be a fine probably, but there's a chance you might even go to jail. You know what I mean? Whereas now you go to,
you're skirting federal law.
You go into a purgatory, NCAA purgatory or something. So, that's why I agree with guardrails, federal guardrails, but I don't agree with making laws because the NCAA, the member institutions of higher learning, of these bastions of integrity, should get their together and come up with hard and fast rules that if Michigan is caught doing something like in the Connor Stallions thing, bang, something happens.
Shut them down.
Something happens now, not 2 years from now.
Right
on down the line.
You've always been anti-establishment when it comes to this issue. But what I'm going to maintain is the system the system before the Supreme Court ruling of 2021.
Whoa. Me, anti-establishment. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. You're a prime example. My point being, let me finish. The system before the Supreme Court ruling in 2021 wasn't as broken as all the do-gooders thought it was. The system worked.
Yeah, they just need to pay the players a little bit.
Well, sure. But they could have had a happy medium.
Why did they balk?
They went off the rails, but everybody acts like, well, this is long overdue and the system was broken. No, the system wasn't broken. The system worked splendidly.
Part of it was.
Are fans and alumni more happy with the system today or the way it was 5 years ago? That's a no-brainer. The system, the way it was 5 years ago.
I'm not sure what the fans think.
They pay the high dollars to get in there. Don't get out of the press box and go down and look at those concession prices. Look at the parking prices.
I agree.
Look at the ticket prices. I was in school. A ticket was $4 to get in that game. Now,
we're not going back to that, brother. We're not going back to when you were in school.
My point being, inflation, that's outpaced inflation by about 500%. What you pay now to get in there.
Agreed. They got to pay the bills.
$6 for Dasani bottle of water. I mean, it's ridiculous. But
how much money has been siphoned off? This is where this is another. How much money has been siphoned from the regular? When you knock, who's there? This is, let's say, Ross Bjork. He's the athletic director of Ohio State. We sure could use your help in some fundraising for our athletic department to pay for a new stadium. Blah blah blah. Blah, blah, blah. And then right after that, who's there? This is the head of the local NIL collective. Boy, we sure could use your help to pay for this, that, and the other.
That's another point.
Well,
so look where
things have been fractured in that regard.
Look where the marching band got relocated from south stands to closed end. You know why? So they could build these big plush recliners and charge high dollar donors to sit there.
That's been going on forever, man. The upgrading of facilities.
The new 1920. It's
the generation of funds
at a cost to the consumer. Yeah, but it's just like this 1922 club that's starting this year, where you're paying about $4,000 to be a member of it. It doesn't even include a game ticket, I don't think. So there's ways to raise money.
Yeah, but you have here's the thing, Jeff. You have the right. You have the right to either do that or not. You have the right to either pay for Peacock, which I do, or not. Most people don't even realize they're paying for ESPN on their cable bill. They're paying for ESPN. You just made my point. You either, but the point is, everybody thinks ESPN's free and all these other streaming services. Why are they stealing money from us? They're not stealing money from you. You got to pay the piper.
You just made my point. You have the option to become a student athlete at a major university or enter the workforce when you leave high school. That is your decision and your choice. If God gave you the ability to do this, get a free education through sports, athletics, that's your decision. This is
I agree with that 100%.
But they're not. I just completely
but with your going, if you're going to work for a business, if you're going to work for a business, if you're going to work for a business, helps that business make more money, you should share in that money. I think you agree with that. That's the crux of it. That's what we're talking about here.
Unless you're paid a decent salary, not everything has revenue sharing.
Everybody. I mean, everybody. Let's say you're on a decent ride or a decent scholarship ride with men's lacrosse at Ohio State or women's hockey, which is, by the way, moving on and number one seed in the NCAA tournament. But the bottom line is, you're getting the same benefits from your scholarship as a football player is, but you're not generating anywhere close to the amount of money the football program is generating. So the athletes you're talking about and feeling sorry for, they're coming to school mainly for their education and to play athletic sports, but their sports aren't generating ridiculously excess money, whereas football and to a certain extent men's basketball is. So that's why those two sports probably should be separated from the rest of the pack and do their own thing. But they're trying to, all this antitrust legislation, all this kind of stuff. It's a morass, and it can't be. I don't think it can be solved by a simple executive order of we shall now go back to the Stone Age, move forward. Anyway, we're moving forward now.
I don't either. He's going to have an easier time ending this war in Iran than he will getting this through to that it'll stick. Let's face it. I mean, he's got bigger fish to fry, but this is probably one of the most difficult problems to solve because it's already been out. The cat's out of the bag, horse out of the barn, toothpaste out of the tube.
That's
Whatever cliche you want to use, it's hard to go back. But there's still, that doesn't mean you throw your hands up and give up. I can't solve this problem.
Didn't say that. Nobody said that. But smart minds, these guys who run these universities, they should be able to do it themselves, but they can't do it because they're afraid of each other. They're afraid of enforcing rules.
Here's another thing. These coaches, the fans might not realize this. These coaches absolutely hate this system. Hate it. They're not going to say it because they don't want to alienate. They don't want to alienate their kids. That's the reason they don't say it, because
of course they do.
Absolutely hate it. It's a reason Nick Saban and Urban Meyer are on the sidelines today. It is.
Most of them believe though that their players should share in some of the largesse. I know that for a fact. Urban Meyer even believes that. But
that's why he's there. That's why he's playing golf with the president down here 5 miles from where I'm sitting, because he and Nick Saban have agreed on these issues, and they got his ear now. Excuse me. So they've been two large factors in President Trump's thinking, because they're friends of him. They play golf, and they've bent his ear over a year now on this. So it's finally come to fruition, and he's brought other people in with some common sense thinking. And but what comes of it? I mean, it's going to be tied up in the courts. It's going to be tied up in lawsuits. It's just going to go on and on. But this is going to come down within the next 48 to 72 hours. So I'm anxious to see the feedback and how this develops.
Yeah, I'm anxious just to read it, because I think it's not going to. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be what we think it's going to be, and it will be challenged immediately. And the guys getting rich more than anybody else right now are the agents for the players who come out of nowhere, ripping players off, in my opinion, and
many not qualified to do that job. Many attorneys, lawyers, whatever you want to call them. Let's move on real quick. Clay, I want to ask you, what do you want to, before we talk about Ohio State basketball, what's the one thing you're most curious about with Ohio State going into spring football, which starts tomorrow, Tuesday, March the 10th? I don't know how you do this in spring practice and you don't want to hit your quarterback. I think one of the main things is to get Julian Sayin comfortable in a pass rush. When you got time and you're moving right along, you're matriculating the ball, and then you get in the last two games and Indiana and Miami make it so uncomfortable. That's one thing. The other is you're going to find out your depth at running back with with Bo and Isaiah West out. And there's, you still got to work out the offensive line. There's a number of things.
I think I said one thing though.
Yeah. But if you're,
here's the thing, what he faced,
me,
what he faced against Indiana and Miami wasn't a pass rush. It was a pass crush. I mean, the offensive line is job one in this spring.
Here's the fact is no college quarterback is comfortable on an open, three-man open pass. It's not just Julian Sayin, Clay. The way to fix that is to fix your offensive line, specifically the right side.
Yep.
No college quarterback can handle dropping back and two guys in his face, what he was facing, and you got to have a running quarterback to get away, and they're not going to revert to that. Julian Sayin's a Heisman candidate, so you get him comfortable by developing the pocket and having integrity in your offensive line and improvement in your offensive line. Let's face it, at the end of the year, that was their weakness. That's why I've always advocated, as I've told Tim and he and I argue about all the time, that you need to bring more men and you need to blitz a lot in college. If you blitz a lot in college, your defense is successful if you got sound players. Nobody's got more athletic, sound players on defense in Ohio State. So you're good in the back end. You can bring the extra guy or two, and I didn't think they did enough last year. NFL quarterbacks can't handle it. Watch the Super Bowl. Drake May's in his second year. He's 24 years old. He couldn't handle it. So college kids, they only have so much time to learn as a quarterback to pick up those blitzes, and they're very vulnerable to blitzing. And they're very vulnerable.
I agree with you, Jeff. I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth that I agree. I agree with you. I mean, we can debate all the time about how much you should blitz, all this kind of baloney. But I do since Mark D'Antonio put it into words the first time I ever heard it was affect the quarterback. You've got to affect the quarterback. That's why this rebuilding of the Ohio State defense or reshuffling on the Ohio State defense this spring is going to be interesting to watch because so many key players are gone, starting with the middle of that defense with Caden McDonald. I mean, basically the best defensive tackle in the country last year. And then moving on to both linebackers gone. Caleb Downs, the best safety in college football, gone. I'm really curious to see what Matt Patricia is going to do there.
Well, on the other side of the ball, I'd really love to see Tavien St. Clair get some reps in the run game. So in other words, there'll be downs and distances, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, where you could bring that 6'5" athlete in there, get Sayin off the field, like maybe they plan to do with Lincoln Keenholz.
Yeah.
Now you got an even bigger and more athletic kid ready to play. Get him some reps in that run game, and you could always pop a pass in there and surprise people by the end of the year and break tendencies. He's got to be on the field a little bit. And don't misconstrue this. I'm not saying bench Julian Sayin. He's a Heisman candidate. That's not what I mean. I mean, you could blend him in certain situations and be very effective in the red zone and short yardage, which is their Achilles heel. We've gone over this endlessly. That's where they struggle. He could help them immensely because he's such a great athlete, great runner.
The most important
taking snaps under center, not in shotgun, under center.
Yeah, the most important
put him on the field.
The most important play in Indiana's victory over Miami for the national championship was that Fernando Mendoza,
quarterback
keeper up the middle. I mean, the draw up the middle, unbelievable.
Yep.
You've got to, as I've said this on TV and radio and stuff the last couple of months, that's where you got to get Julian Sayin comfortable is doing some of that. He's not going to be Fernando Mendoza.
Well,
but he's got to get comfortable. He's got to get comfortable occasionally running the ball. And I agree, there is nothing wrong in college football or even the NFL in having a package that features a Tavien St. Clair or before him a Lincoln Keenholz, but you got to have the confidence to run it. Right. And they had that last year. They had those packages for Lincoln Keenholz. And they used them a little bit, but not as much as you would have thought.
Back to our previous subject, who would have thought Lincoln Keenholz today at the University of Louisville is making exactly as much in money in NIL as Julian Sayin is? They're both making approximately $3 million a year. Who would have thought that? He's never thrown a meaningful pass. And Jeff Brom took him and gave him $2 million. And doesn't, I think he'll hold the job and be pretty good.
I do too.
He's doing that on the flyer. There's an example of a transfer portal flyer just because he was the backup at Ohio State and he obviously watched some film of him in high school and so forth, but he never played a meaningful minute at Ohio State. other than that Cotton Bowl when he wasn't prepared, and that can't hold that against him.
No.
But that goes back to our previous subject. I mean, it's just amazing to me when I heard that number. And when you go back to the national championship game, you're absolutely right. That quarterback draw, and they designed it perfectly. Kirk Cignetti had the guts to call it on 4th and 5. He was running a running play. But there's one more play you forgot about. That block punt down there when they didn't even have the punt rush on into the end zone. Those are the 2 plays of the game.
Yeah,
and
I agree. I just thought the Mendoza touchdown was the one that iced it. Yeah.
Oh, I agree with you, Tim, on that.
Oh my goodness! Hey, write that down, Clay. Write that down. You got your pen right there.
What time is it?
We're 54 minutes into this. Write that down.
For once, you're correct.
Hey, yeah. I know you get passionate. I get passionate. I don't want to revisit what we talked about before, except one thing. Times and money have changed dramatically over the last 50 years in college athletics. Is my only point. But anyway, I don't want to go any farther.
I agree with you. Times have changed in college football. And the reason I can say that is because I look at your hair color, and I knew you when you had dark hair in 1985, and we met at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I look at you now, and I say, boy, time goes fast, doesn't it?
Hey, do you think it's just irony, or do you think it's just fate, or do you think it's hair coloring? The fact he has no gray hair. What do you think it is, Clay?
Great
genes.
Genetics.
Yeah.
Clay, just so you know, my father lived to be 99 years and 10 months, and he didn't get gray till about the year 86. And
it's like my dad.
For some reason,
my dad, same way. My dad was the same way, and I swear it was because he used Vitalis his whole life.
If I grew a goat like you had, this right here is completely white, and that's why I don't grow it.
Yeah, gotcha. That figures, because it's hard to color that stuff.
Yeah, I know. Guys with those white goatees, I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, me neither. Last thing, dude, the last 2 weeks have been a major change of fortunes for the Ohio State basketball team. Most people think they're solidly in the tournament now. Perhaps you would much rather see them. You and I talked about this before. You'd much rather see them be a 10 seed than a 9 seed or an 8 seed, right? But just. What have you, as I pointed out, we pointed this out with the J.J. Sullinger last week. The difference is they're whole, W-H-O-L-E. They're a whole team now. Guys have come back from injury. You've seen guys step up. Amari Bynum, the way he has transformed over the last 2 months from a freshman to now, playing like a freshman, a lot of times making huge mistakes, et cetera, looking lost, to now just in that first half the other day against Indiana, just taking control of a game right on down the line. We've got 5 minutes left. Your take on Ohio State basketball now headed to the Big Ten tournament and on Jake Diebler.
Well, the number one thing I'd say, they finally have confidence. So, if you watch them play on the road as recently as Iowa, Michigan State back-to-back, you can just see them waiting for the tide to turn, that they're not going to be able to close the deal, even though they had leads early on. The last 3 games, it's like they flipped the switch. They have confidence in playing to their utmost of their ability. They got everybody healthy, as you said. They still don't have the depth they need to make a deep run. I'd like to see them win one game in the Big Ten tournament, then they're going to run into the number 1 seed, Michigan. If they win one game in the NCAA tournament, they're going to be about 8th or 9th seed. And then I'd love to see them win 2 games, get to Sweet 16. And I would say if they do that, they've maxed out their capability and have been a successful season. And, of course, Jake Diebler's already saved his job, if it was even in jeopardy to begin with. We don't know that. We never know that. He might have been coming back all along, but he secured the job. And I think he's grown in this position a little bit. Some guys do. I've always said Ohio State's not a learning on the job position in any sport. You should be accomplished, but he's learning on the job. He's getting better.
Yeah.
And they've come together with some the talent they got. That starting five is pretty good. They just don't have the 6, 7, 8 guys that I wish they had.
Yeah. Chapman's pretty good though, coming off the bench.
I was just about to say, the way Bynum was a revelation, Tayson Chapman, the kid's a 48% 3-point shooter, 85% from the line. He's now getting about 13, 14 minutes a game. And
he's making a play in every game that you remember.
I think he is the 6th or 7th man. And that, as you say, they got 5.
here's the thing. Bruce Thornton's playing 36 minutes a game, and when you get in the tournament, your days are compacted. You know, during the season, they get 3 days off between games. Now they're down to 1 day off. He'll wear down after a while, but he's their leader. He's a super stud. I mean, who does not love Bruce? The all-time leading scorer now.
Yeah.
And the other guys, Mobley have stepped up, and Royal stepped up, and they're peaking at the right time. And no, he's done a great job these last 3 games.
Hey, what does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean, Jeff? You've been an Ohio State basketball fan forever, just like football. What does that mean in your mind? Bruce Thornton doing what he's done, becoming the all-time leading scorer. I mean, I don't know, where do you put him in that?
Well,
list or whatever it is you want to call that pantheon.
He's got to be in the top 5. I revert back to Jimmy Jackson and comparable, a little bit comparable 1992 in that range. Ohio State's had some great individual players, Clark Kellogg, for instance, Jerry Lucas, John Havlicek. He's in that category because he's now the leading scorer, and he's such a great leader. I watch him play, and if Bruce Thornton wanted to, he could average 30 points a game.
Yes.
But he doesn't, because he knows that would lead to more wins and probably lead to more losses. And he's not selfish in any regard, and that makes a great basketball player. I see him come down the court a lot of times, and you can just tell when he says, I'm not going to score this trip down. I want to set somebody up, because we need to spread the wealth to win ball games. And he knows that. He's very intelligent. But when they need a bucket, he's the guy they're going to go to. Like I told you before, I'd like to see him off ball more than always running the point, because I think he'd get more scoring opportunities to get, he's hard to double. Then they double. A lot of good coaches double him as soon as he crosses mid-court. They want the ball out of his hands because he's the instigator. But he's a great college basketball player. I hope he does well in the NBA. I think he will. But before he moves on, I'd love to see them get an NCAA tournament win or 2 and break the schneid they've been on for about the last 5 years.
Yeah, like you said, though, I think they would benefit. You hate to say this out loud, but win 1 in the Big Ten, but
rest up.
Well, yeah, but you can't
probably get Iowa
because Michigan would probably like, but yeah, win 1 and then move.
That's like, you
hate to say it out loud, right? I mean, because
you want to get that revenge in Iowa from 4 games ago. But at the same time, if you do, it's probably going to result in losing to Michigan 3 times in 1 year, and you hate to see that, but they're not going to beat Michigan. That team is between them, Duke, and Florida are the 3 favorites to win the title again. And I watched them play Michigan State yesterday, and they're dominant. They're well coached. They're dominant. They're talented. They're deep. All the things you want to make a run. And I hate to see it beat Ohio State 3 times in basketball, but if Ohio State gets by Iowa, it'll probably happen.
What do you think, Clay, before we sign off here?
No, I think I'm proud of Diebler. Somehow he pulled it together, and as you said, they got healthy. And Bynum has just, he and Chapman to me have come on, and all the credit goes to Bruce, no question about that.
And say Mobley's name again. Mobley has been so key the last several games. Coming back after breaking that bone in his hand. I mean,
he healed quickly.
Yeah, and then Tilly has stepped up.
Yeah,
Tilly is playing so much more like a big man than he was 2 months ago.
He's still in that
gives
10,
them a present.
Point range.
If they could get more out of, I still can't pronounce his name, the other guy, number 7.
Ivan Nagovin.
Yeah, they could get more out of him just from at least a supplemental standpoint of going in for Tilly, playing a little bigger than he's been playing.
I think much better defensive player than he is an offensive player to me. But
I just think he's been a little bit lacking on both ends. But the other day he stepped up a little bit. But that's where they, like Jeff's talking about, from a depth standpoint, that's going to catch up with you.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, probably. But JJ Selinger, before you go, Jeff, he was on here with us the other day, sitting in that chair right over there. He thinks they're going to take 2 trips in the NCAA tournament, which means he doesn't mean to Dayton for the play-in. He means 2 trips. That's a pretty bold prediction.
I hope he's right, but given their seeding, be 8th or 9th, they're going to play a similar seeded team. They could very much win the first one. Might be favored in the first one, depending on their draw. The second one's going to be very difficult because they're probably going to get.
I think Lenardi had him at a number 10. Mm-hmm. No, not Lenardi. I think Jerry Palm had him at like a number 10 the other day. Number 10 would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Well, no, they'd like to get up to an 8th or 9th seed if they would beat Iowa handily. They could be a 9 seed. So they're going to range anywhere from 9 to 10, I would think. They're not going to drop as far as 11, even if they lose that first game, from what I can tell, from when I read all the projections. And if they would upset Michigan, you jump up another seed. That won't happen. But no, they're going to. That first game will be tough. The second game they'd be an underdog. I wouldn't be as bold as saying they're going to make 2 trips. But I'd love to see them at least win 1 game and get to the final 32. I'd say that's an accomplishment for where they were coming back from Iowa City.
Right, but I mean, but the reason I said about 8 and 9, you don't want to play a 1 seed till you have to, do you?
Well, they wouldn't. Right, their second round.
If they were 8 and 9, wouldn't they play a 1 seed? I'm trying to remember the bracket. Yeah,
they probably would.
They would.
You're actually right. I think the second round they'd probably get.
That's why I said a 10. At least you'd play a 2 instead of a 1. You know what I mean? In that second round, and you get to make that second trip. You know, perhaps. But even the 2 seeds look pretty damn stout right now. But I agree.
Let's face it. 2 weeks ago, they're feeling good about getting in the tournament, because 2 weeks ago when they come back from Iowa City, it didn't look that way. So they've righted the ship at the right time, and they just got to face who's in front of them, and they'll get a little rest now. You know, they played Saturday, and now they don't play till Thursday. And say even if they win 1, their last game's Friday, and then they're coming back the following week with 6 more days rest at least.
Correct.
Maybe 7. That'll do them good. I got a feeling. They won 3 in a row. They got momentum, and as thin as they are, you need that rest, and then you're going to have 2 games in 3 days from now on once you get in the NCAA tournament.
Agreed. I agree with everything Jeff just said. Mark that down.
Number 2 today.
That was 105 into the.
You're patronizing me. I can just tell.
No. I agreed with you. I want to mark history as we have historic moments, milestones. I want to mark them. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for joining us again, my man.
Hey, it was great talking with you. It was a good time, Clay. It's good to see you. Clay, you're like our bartender, because here's the thing. When Tim and I go out and sit at a bar and have a nice meal or dinner, what you just saw just now is what takes place at the bar. And the guy tries to interrupt or be a peacemaker, and you're sort of in that role. So I appreciate you.
I tell people I'm the A.J. Hawk of this podcast. I sit here and I nod.
Make plays. You make plays on that weak side.
And if he'll let me smoke a cigar in here, then I'll have the part down completely.
You think Clay could be a will linebacker? I think he could, couldn't he, Jeff?
Hell, I could.
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh? He's got a nose for the ball.
Tim doesn't mind cigar smoke. We used to do that in Indianapolis all the time when we covered the 500, right, Tim?
Oh, dude. My buddy Moose, who, by the way, has been dealing with some problems. I wish him so well. But he was smoking cigars up until a couple of years ago, and I quit smoking them. Or I don't know if I was smoking them. I was puffing them. But I love the smell of cigar smoke. But, man, I started getting a buzz. I think I started inhaling a little bit too much, and I just kind of gave them up because I just went. But I love being around guys who are smoking cigars.
I told my wife last night I've had this cough for three years, I feel like, and I must have lung cancer.
Well, it's probably –
you only cough when you lay down, and all this drainage and
we don't need to go there.
Yeah,
golly, nobody cares about your drain problem.
I can relate, Clay. I'm headed to the doctor in 2 hours, get checked for a hernia. I'm sure I got one. I've never had one in my life, but
you've had everything else. I don't know why you wouldn't have a hernia.
Well, the last 3 weeks I've been playing ball with a big bulge in my side, and I'm sure that's, from what I can tell, that's what I got. So getting old sucks.
Did somebody say you don't look like you're happy to be here? You look like you've got a hernia. Is that what they said?
Tim, I stood at first base the other day after hitting a single. It hurt so much to run. I stood there and actually took my hands and pushed it back in.
Yeah.
Man. You probably do.
All right. That's enough. That's enough. I tune out radio shows when they start talking about any kind of physical maladies or drainage things. Anyway, I can tell you about my pond, my house drain stopping up the other day, going to my my farm pond in front of my property, but I won't get into that. I did get that cleaned out. I did get that cleaned out. Ladies and gentlemen, for Jeff Snook, for Clay Hall, I'm Tim May. This has been the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall and Jeff Snook. A lot of Jeff Snook. Too much Jeff Snook. What do you think, Clay?
No. Real good. Real good. I hope he'll
Hey,
be.
God forbid somebody gets more words on your show than you do.
Clay,
Let me
No,
say one thing
no,
here.
you be-
Let me say one thing here at the end.
Be a fair arbiter. Be fair.
I
here.
will be, but at about 54 minutes, he said, "Now, I don't want to go back and retrace everything,
But
but Tim had the last word."
Oh,
I
boy.
guarantee you,
It's always
he
that way.
did.
I don't know how he's remained married for 40 some years the way he is. Susie May is a saint.
Has to be.
we've had some neighborhood rousers before. I will say this though, in parting, before I hit the end recording button, I live in the present and the future. I don't care about the past.
Yeah.
The past.
Well,
If you lean on the past way too long, you're bound to repeat it.
Well, given that you made your career as a sports writer, that's a hell of a statement. Because
there
when
you
you
go.
go down to that locker room to interview players,
Here we
you're
go.
not interviewing them after the game about the future. You're interviewing them about what just happened 3 hours in the past. So I don't know why you always say that. It makes no
3
sense.
hours in the past beats the hell out of 35
You
years
don't
in the
learn
past
from the past. You're
of
doomed to repeat it.
escalating television revenue, et cetera. But I digress. We'll see you next time.